김정은 동지의 전략적 결단에 따라 조선민주주의인민공화국 국방과학원 과학자 기술자들은 새로 연구 개발한 대륙간 탄도로켓 화성 14형 시험 발사를 성공적으로 진행하였다.
Now you see, the new world is inevitable.
It's what?
Inevitable.
One more time?
Inevitable! Things are inevitably going to change! God damn it, open your fucking ears.
That was actually Kim Jong-un's father, Kim Jong-il, in the movie Team America. He was also painted by the Western media and the political establishment as an evil madman and James Bond-esque supervillain. But just yesterday, the North Korean delegate to the United Nations threatened the mainland United States with nuclear obliteration in response to President Trump's using Rocketman to describe Chairman Kim. North Korea has been testing purportedly hydrogen bombs as well as test firing an array of missiles, 24 in 2017 alone, into the Sea of Japan as well as over the main islands of Japan. North Korean state media has regularly announced the intention to destroy the enemies of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea and has been playing a cat and mouse game with the South Koreans, Japanese, as well as the Americans, which are all forced to move interceptor assets continually in response to missile threats. The North Koreans, or Norks for the purposes of this presentation, have for good cause been accused of destabilizing the region, which is incidentally one of the most militarized on Earth. In the face of opposition, not only from its traditional enemies such as the United States, Japan, and South Korea, but also over the objections of its historical partners such as China and Russia, Kim Jong-un's twin goals since assuming power in 2011 have been to modernize the Nork military and bring a measured amount of economic prosperity to the general public. And with the Kim regime's continued jingoism and blusterous threats of destroying the enemies of the North, he has continually test-fired rockets in a display of his power, and all the while the media in the West continually paints him as some crazed type of madman. But is he? And more importantly, why is North Korea behaving in such a manner, and what does it hope to achieve with its provocative stance? First of all, when looking at the geopolitical situation and the position of North Korea, it's clear that for decades the Norks have sought to dominate the South in one form or another. It's essential for their survival. It is a more prosperous and magnet country for North Korean people, and the sheer existence of South Korea presents the greatest long-term threat to the North Korean regime. Despite the hype served up daily by such trusted sources as CNN, the Kim regime doesn't intend to start a war to unify the peninsula. It's aiming to be in a position where it can bully, blackmail, and extort the South at will. Even now, despite the backing of the US, Seoul has backed down and retreated at every instance of provocation by the North over the past decade. Already, the default position of the South to mounting tensions has been to provide the North with concession after concession. In the past 20 years alone, Seoul has handed over at least $10 billion without any monitoring of who receives and what is done with this tribute. And the Norks want a guaranteed extortionist relationship with the South, and nuclear-tipped ballistic missiles will seal and cement the already existing flow of tribute to the North. Also, and most importantly, North Korean motivation in developing a nuclear weapons program is, and in the geopolitical calculation of its circumstances, as a deterrent against unilateral American action, and rightly so. Since the end of the Second World War, the United States has had the propensity to attack and topple the governments of small countries that have jeopardized the petrodollar are in areas of strategic importance, vis-a-vis resources, or on key transportation routes. Think Libya, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Panama. If there's something of value and it's being withheld or obstructed, the US government will demonize the leader or leadership with whom they were most likely previously allied with, and then beat the drum of its own jingoism, and for the most part, the American public, with the notable exception of Vietnam when conscription was still in effect, the American public falls into line and calls for the destruction of the evil dictator who's literally a new Hitler, and to free the hapless people under his control. And just in case you missed it, President Trump just sent another several thousand troops back into Afghanistan, and the reason stated was that the country is sitting on an estimated $1 trillion worth of rare earth elements, which are essential in the manufacture of modern electronics, which makes it a matter of strategic importance, especially since China currently has a monopoly on the production of the rare earth elements. Now just take a guess which country was in 2012 found to be sitting on top of the largest reserves of rare earth elements on Earth, estimated at anywhere between $6 to $10 trillion. That's right, North Korea. But at present, the Norks are totally freezed out of the global financial system via sanctions put on them, and they're also banned from exporting their rare earth elements. So imagine you are this Cartman of a Korean Kim. You have an estimated net worth of $5 billion US. You are the God Emperor of your hermit nation. You have a private island described by Dennis Rodman as an Ibiza of North Korea. And you have a harem of the most beautiful girls in your kingdom. And you and your family, or what's left of it, are worshipped, at least publicly, as a semi-divine being. And then realize that your private prison/labor camp of a nation is sitting on trillions of dollars worth of resources coveted by globalists and their transnational corporations. Know that the US has a habit of conveniently finding new Hitlers in areas of the world with essential resources. And after toppling their governments, they install puppets that allow for the extraction of said resources. Now, the wars of aggression that are instigated by the United States are always framed as being defensive. But having said that, there will be no war. This is all saber-rattling and posturing on the part of the Norks, as they know there would be no way for them to win in an all-out fight with the US. What they are demonstrating is that it would be a very costly war that would destabilize the entire region, and not one that the US could win without significant damage to itself and its allies in the region. The Norks are also signaling that they will not allow regime change that the US has been so fond of installing around the world in their country. Rocketman is not a madman, nor is he literally Hitler. Yes, he is a despot, yes, his regime is oppressive, and yes, North Korea is an open prison for its 25 million inhabitants, but North Korea is playing the geopolitical hand that it has been dealt with the tools at its disposal. There is nothing irrational or unstable about the threats to totally destabilize the entire region. But Kim will not be the one to pull the trigger, because he has nothing to gain from initiating an attack and everything to lose, including his harem. If anybody pulls the trigger, it will be Trump, and probably sometime in late 2018 to early 2019, as there's nothing that gets an American president reelected than a good old-fashioned American invasion of a small and weak country that is marketed to the public as a mercy mission of freedom. Having said all of this, if there is to be a war, my money is on Venezuela. Why, you might ask? Well, it has been openly defiant of the United States for years now. And just today, along with North Korea, it was added to the US travel ban. And this comes just 1 week after a move that's largely seen as the country giving the proverbial middle finger to Washington. Venezuela has made good on its promise to lay off the US dollar and is now publishing its oil prices in yuan. And the last couple of times when national leaders challenged the petrodollar, Saddam Hussein pricing oil in euros, and Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi attempting to cobble together a gold-backed currency, well, let's just say it didn't work out too well for them and was utterly disastrous for their countries. Nicolas Maduro. It's a name I think you're going to be hearing of more, probably a lot more, and I have no doubt that the ever cunning and slimy corporate media will paint a narrative of his evil and him being literally Hitler incarnate, and how Venezuela needs to be freed from his oppression and saved in the name of freedom. If you like this kind of material, please consider subscribing. Also follow Black Pigeon on the usual social media and check out the website blackpigeonspeaks.com for more interesting information like this.